I just want to read a progressive unity statement before we begin. This was written out by and signed by our leaders, Ezra and Leah. Okay, so the importance of defeating Donald Trump in 2020 requires no explanation. In 2016, mainstream conventional wisdom asserted that Hillary Clinton would easily triumph over Trump. Today, some still argue for a return to pre-Trump policies and politics as the safest path to victory. We disagree. Going back to the future does not offer the best path to Trump's defeat, nor does it move our country forward in terms of the enormous challenges and inequalities facing the American people. We offer this statement as independent organizations. Some support Bernie Sanders or Elizabeth Warren, or are not currently supporting any candidate for president. For those with a declared preference, this statement in no way signals the slightest decrease in that commitment. Instead, the statement is a shared declaration of our belief that the surest way to defeat Trump is for the Democratic Party to nominate either Warren or Sanders, as these are candidates best able to energize voters by providing a vision of a decent society and a fair economy. This vision is sorely needed, as is an administration that will implement far-reaching reforms toward a more just society. Our best chance of defeating Trump does not lie with an establishment or corporate Democrat. The anti-establishment, anti-corporate awareness, and anger that characterize American society today are justified, and it would be a huge mistake to once again yield to the ground to a phony like Trump. We can do better, and we will work to persuade Democrats to choose a strong, progressive nominee. Sanders and Warren, as well as their campaigns and supporters, will need to find ways to cooperate. The crossfire amplified by the media is unhelpful and does not reflect the relationship between two Senate colleagues who broadly worked together for most of the last year. We hope to build solidarity between delegates affiliated with these two candidates prior to the convention, and will encourage the campaigns to work towards a unified convention strategy after the final primaries on June 2nd. While we firmly believe that either Warren or Sanders should lead our nation in 2021, we will in the end go all out to defeat Trump, no matter who the Democratic candidate is. We urge all American progressives to adopt this view. We owe no less to ourselves, our nation, and our world. Signed by Yvette Stevens-Simpson, CEO of Democracy for America, Larry Cohn, Board of Our Revolution, Norman Salmon, co-founder and coordinator of Roots Action, Varshini Prakash, executive director of Sunrise Movement, Maurice Mitchell, national director of Working Families, Alejandra Rojas, executive director of Justice Democrats, Leah Greenberg, and Ezra Levin, co-executive directors of Indivisible National. So I just wanted to, because that was released today, and I'm sure it was going to really get a whole lot of press, I wanted to get that out there, that yes, we're a part of a larger organization, and that has happened, but at the same time, we are going to support whoever is the nominee. And that's coming from, I'm a delegate candidate, and I don't, whoever is the nominee, I promise that I will be working for. So that being said, one of the last part that I wanted to introduce is the concept of the primaries seem to be very confusing for a lot of people when it comes to the delegate candidates, and we're going to be seeing a whole lot of delegate candidates. So the reason why I think it's confusing is because in the past we just didn't have as many choices. So we don't really remember voting for for example, the Obama or the Hillary people. We just voted for the person in the group of people that we were with. So in the primary, one of the things to remember is we have a representative democracy, and so when we vote in the primary for the president, we vote when what we're actually doing on March 17th is voting for the percentage of people in our district that are going to go to that nominee. And then so for example, in the 6th district, which I'll just use as our district that we're talking about, everyone in the 6th district has 6 choices. And so just to make things convenient, we're going to say that if you vote, if the 6th district in the end has 50% Bernie Sanders, then half of their delegates, 3 are going to be for Bernie Sanders. You have to get 15% of the vote in order to get any delegates. And the only people that can vote for anybody in the end are the delegates in July. So when all the primaries are over, then there's going to be a whole lot of negotiating that's going to happen if we have, for example, delegates that from candidates that perhaps have dropped out along the way, or what have you not. So the convention is going to be probably a more contested or possibly a bigger deal than it has been in the past. So that's why it's really important to have your choices. So in the end, you don't have to choose a full slate of one candidate. You can mix and match. Say you decide that you want to have your favorite 3 Warren ones and your favorite 3 Bernie ones, or you want to have a little bit of, whatever, a potpourri mix. Your 2 favorite Pete Persons, your 2 favorite Bernies, your 2 favorite Warrens. You can do whatever you want. So that's what I just wanted to let you know, because I think a lot of times it gets a little confusing and whatnot. So the first one that we have is in our, just so you all know, our organization has a whole lot of everything. We have a whole lot of our leadership that believes that a whole lot of the candidates would be just perfect. But our first delegate candidate is from the 8th Congressional District, and he's Gary Kleppe. He was former chair of York Township for many years. They're a Democratic organization.
All right, so as Diane said, I'm a candidate for delegate in the 8th District, here with my friend Dan Bailey, who's a candidate for Bernie delegate in the 6th District. So even though I'm a delegate, I don't speak for the campaign, and the campaign has not told me what to say here, so just to make that clear, if I say something that fatally offends someone, you don't blame the campaign, blame me. Okay, so why do I think Bernie is far and away the best candidate for president in this election? Just look at one thing, just one fact, which I think kind of encapsulates this. Sanders, he does not take, he doesn't go to these meetings where we bring in a bunch of money through lobbyists. He doesn't have billionaires writing him thousands of dollar checks. He doesn't take money from big money sources. But yet, he's outraised the other candidates that do take all that money, and just through like small donations, like $10, people put in $10 or $20. Now, why do they do that? Because they believe in Bernie. Bernie inspires people to say, this is a guy that I think if I can get him elected, he is going to do something that's going to make my life better. All right, and why, that is what we're going to need to, not only to beat Trump. I mean, I don't just want to beat Trump. I want to build a sustainable movement that's going to, keep out the next Trump and the next Trump and the next Trump. I don't want any more right-wing nut jobs, running our government. So it's, just like agriculture, we need to build a sustainable harvest. Why is Bernie the guy to do that? Like I said, he inspires people who believe in him, and that's because, he obviously believes what he's saying. He's sincere, and that's not something you find a lot in politics in the USA. Sort of sad to say, because part of that is because he doesn't take that big money, so he's free to do what is really right for for us. Like just to take one example, healthcare. Bernie Sanders is unequivocally for a single payer healthcare, Medicare for all. That means that basically you're making healthcare a public service. We just take all this gargantuan amounts of money that we're spending in healthcare and say, okay, if somebody gets sick, you can get whatever treatment you need. So it's kind of like, we have other, it's not a radical idea. We have other things this country do as public services. I think roads are public services. You don't have to pay to use them. Well, most of them, unless it's a tollway. The libraries are public services. Schools. We fund a lot of things this way, and it's so. And it's just to throw out a number. I think the number I've seen is that you would have to pay. There would be a new payroll tax of 4% of your income over $29,000. And you can calculate what that is. That's far, far less than you're paying now in premiums, co-pays, deductibles, and all that. I mean, we are getting ripped off to an amazing degree under the current system. And it just comes, you say, is this a radical idea? Well, look at other countries. Other countries have some variation on this. And in other countries, it would be a radical idea not to do this. Even like the Boris Johnson and people like that won't come out and say we want to dismantle public health care, because they knew if they said that, they'd get creamed, that they'd lose their seats. I mean, they might be working behind the scenes to do it, but they're not going to admit it. All right, what else can I tell you? Another thing, Bernie has the best Green New Deal plan. Now, I mean, this is one issue where half measures are not going to cut it. The survival of the human race is literally at stake here. Science has told us that. So Bernie has by far the most ambitious Green New Deal plan. It's online, you can read it, you can do a web search for it. We need to save the planet, well, I guess the planet is always going to be here, but we need to make sure that the planet will support human life. So then I'll just say, vote for Bernie, and we've got our flyers in the back. These are Dan and I actually printed out kind of hand custom made flyers for Bernie for papers, and so pick one up and speak to either one of us. All right, thank you.
And then the next one is Erica Bray-Parker, who's elected Wheaton City Councilwoman, has been with us since the start as our leader, one of our leaders. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Diane. My name is Erica Bray-Parker. I think I've met most of you before. Thanks for coming out tonight. I have the pleasure of being a delegate on the ballot for Elizabeth Warren in the 6th Congressional District. And again, like Diane had mentioned, there's 6 of us in the 6th Congressional District. Diane is also a delegate for Elizabeth Warren, so you can ask her some questions as well in the 11th District. And like we've all been saying, on what is it, March 18th, when I wake up, well, I guess it could be a little bit later than that, but whichever Democrat wins, we're cooperating, we're bonding, we're building, we're working together, and that's going to be essential. That's where I think that's where we all need to move forward. When it comes to Elizabeth Warren, personally, something that stuck with me, why I've chosen her, I hope to represent her this summer in Milwaukee at the Democratic Convention. Her plans, we always hear where you put your money is where you put your priorities. And so if you just listen to her, what really got me was her 2-cent wealth tax on the billionaires. The plan is once that money gets collected, it is going to high priority issues, and those issues are education. And it's early childhood education, which has a dramatic, the studies show over and over again for decades, there's a dramatic impact in children's lives and moves children forward and helps build a better America. She also plans on spending a lot of that money on the post-high school. Post-high school education is essential as well. So the priorities of Elizabeth Warren are really what's essential to me, and the corruption, stopping the political corruption that's happening. One of the reasons, we all know we have to save the earth for existence for us. Everybody knows that. But the idea is you need to get rid of the corruption that is currently stopping politicians from doing what's right for the country. and that the revolving door that exists in Washington, D.C., the lobbying that exists in Washington, D.C., all that stuff that's interfering with what we all know is right for America. So those are just a few of the things that have touched me personally about Elizabeth Warren and why I'm supporting her. I also think her political persona is presidential, and she will represent the United States well. So if you have any questions, be sure and reach out to Diane and I. Thank you.
And I'll make sure to stay on the agenda. The next one is Ann Vazquez, who's a candidate for Pete Buttigieg, and she's very active with Downers Grove Democrats.
Hello, everybody. I know most of you here, or have met you. I am Ann Vazquez, and I am currently a candidate delegate for Pete Buttigieg in the 6th District. I am also the team lead in the 6th District, along with a young gentleman by the name of Chris Espinoza, who sits with me as a candidate delegate. The reason I initially fell, I'm going to say fell because we fall in love during primaries, for Pete Buttigieg. I heard him speak for Joe Biden during the Democrat days in Springfield. And I was so moved by his speech that I cried. And tears were brought to my eyes because I thought, this is somebody who can unify. My sister stepped up to run. He so motivated her. And she now sits on the school board. He is motivating. He is young. He has an investment for the future. And he has a way of speaking to those people one-on-one and bringing them over to our side. And I've seen it when I've knocked on the doors. I have knocked on doors since I was 10 years old, and my dad handed me a pamphlet. And you know what? I have never been greeted nicely until Pete Buttigieg came along. With Pete, I go to the door, and if it's a split household, they're acting like it's a national holiday. Pete's here, Mayor Pete's here. Come on down and meet Mayor Pete. Not that I'm Mayor Pete, but you need to go on to Pete for America and look at his plans. He is far more progressive than people think. What he has is the ability to speak to the middle and change hearts and minds. And that's what we need to build a better America. We need energy, we need youth, we need vigor, and we need someone to be able to change hearts and minds, not only within the party, but across party lines. So when I knock on a door and I hear a Republican or an independent say, I will vote for Pete Buttigieg, I say to all of you, step aside and let a new generation take over. Thank you.
And all the delegates' names will be on our website because there's a lot of them. The next one is Gabriel Edwards, who's an Andrew Yang delegate from the 6th District.
All right, thank you. All right, so my name is Gabriel Edwards, and I am currently a candidate delegate for Andrew Yang. Go Yang. So now, it was Gary, right? Gary said something that really struck with me and has been sticking with me this whole time, is that it can't just be about beating Donald Trump, it has to be about what comes after. Okay, Donald Trump, as Andrew Yang has been saying since I first heard about him a year ago, that Donald Trump He's a bad president, but he's a symptom. We blew away 4 million jobs in the swing states, in Pennsylvania, Ohio, Wisconsin, Iowa. All of these states that we were sure we were going to go Democrat, they went Republican for Trump because he was telling them what they wanted to hear. Now, when you blast away these kind of jobs and opportunities from people, stress comes on to them. And when you are stressed, studies have shown, the data's out there, that your IQ, your functional IQ drops 13%. You become a lesser person. And you then become more susceptible to racist, more xenophobic influences. And Donald Trump knew that, and he rode that all the way to the White House. Now, Andrew Yang, he's got this plan. It's an amazing plan. We can end poverty. It's called the Freedom Dividend. Now, I know people still saying the Freedom Dividend is $1,000 a month for every American adult from the time they turn 18 till the time they expire. Now, it sounds crazy, really it does, and there's not a member of the gang that won't agree with you that when they first heard about it, they said, oh, it's too good to be true. But that's because we've been trained to think that. The economy is almost $20 trillion. We can pay for this. We just spent $7 trillion in Iraq over the last 10 years. We paid $1 trillion in emergency room fees. We paid $1 trillion into incarceration rates. You put money into Americans' hands, and you will see this country blossom in a way that it hasn't in a long time. So, please, go to yang2020.com. Do your research. He's got a great book. It's called The War on Normal People. Pick it up at your local bookstore, your library. You can also listen to it for free on YouTube. He's got plenty of long-form discussions on YouTube through podcasts, the Joe Rogan podcast, the Ben Shapiro podcast, the Dave Rubin podcast. He will go and talk to the people who fundamentally disagree with us on our point of view. And Andrew Yang has stayed with them point for point. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much. The congressional candidates were exceptionally busy right now. And with the impeachment, it's been a busy time. Sean Casten is actually going to be interviewing with us for our podcast on Saturday, but the next 3 are going to be through video. They wanted to be here, but they couldn't. So the first one is going to be Marie Newman, who is running against Dan Lipinski. And we've actually endorsed, we've never endorsed any candidate, but we did endorse Marie Newman as individual page for obvious reasons. The second one is going to be Congressman Bill Foster, and the third one is going to be Raja Krishnamoorthi, Congressman.
Hello, Indivisible DuPage. I hope everyone is doing well and has recovered from the holidays. I know I have. Hey, thank you for having me in today. I know you're having your candidates forum and appreciate a little bit of time and space in your heads. So, as many of you know, I'm Marie Newman. I'm running for Congress in Illinois 3 against Dan Lipinski in the Democratic primary. And why am I running? Because we desperately need change. We need someone who actually will listen to people. I've had 270 meet and greets where I have learned critical pieces of information about what the needs of the district are. And it's really clear. Everybody believes that we should have health care for all and not for some. Dan voted against the Affordable Care Act. Everybody believes that we should protect and advance the rights of immigrants, and Dan voted against the DREAM Act. Everybody in the district understands that life is unaffordable, and it's really the centerpiece of my campaign.
Think about that for a minute.
Thank you.
I watch a TV podcast, and I watch a podcast for my news, and that happens 2 or 3 times every day. It's frustrating.
It's not the computer, it's a connection.
Yeah, actually, it's not good.
What do you think, this, your flash player?
It's the internet connection. This video is stored in the internet somewhere, and it's gotta get to here. And there's,
I went from AT&T to Comcast, and I got, it's supposed to be enough bandwidth to do 10 people on the internet at the same time. So shouldn't that be enough?
are we using your bandwidth here?
No.
Can you try switching really quick?
So I see it's being decided.
Creating practical solutions that will help our economy work for everybody and not just for the very few. So things like paid leave, affordable college, Medicare for all, the Green New Deal, and creating jobs in the district and outside the district in the green economy. Really critical. We have to address these from a pragmatic standpoint, and that's where I come in, right? I'm a former management consultant. I ran a national nonprofit and have worked in all of the communities across this great district. So what do I need? And you know, politicians always need something. So I need you. And I'm not kidding around. I absolutely need you. We have an army, we need a bigger army. I need your feet and I need your voices, and I need you to advocate for me. I really do. If all of you could take on just one shift, that would solve a lot of problems. We have got to get moving. We are only 9 weeks out. Whatever you can do, I can appreciate any amount of time. So thank you for all of the amazing work that you've done. And if you can jump on board and jump on my website, which is marienewmanforcongress.com. Jump on our Mobilize app, and we'd love to see you. And I'm looking forward to seeing you out there. Have a great day.
Hi, I'm Congressman Bill Foster, and I'm proud to represent part of DuPage County as part of the 11th District of Illinois in the U.S. House of Representatives. I'm in Washington, so I'm sorry I can't be here with you today. First off, this is a very dangerous time for our country. President Trump's continued lack of knowledge of complex issues, from climate change to foreign policy to nuclear weapons, is continuing to place Americans at risk. When Trump decided to withdraw from the Iran nuclear deal in 2018, he was warned that the alternative was a path to war. Now, 20 months later, here we are. This was yet another clear example of his diplomatic ignorance, his technological ignorance, and his ignorance of history, resulting in a decision that will make the United States less safe. As the only PhD physicist in Congress, I know that the nuclear deal was working. We must not repeat the mistakes of the past, and our nation must not be led into an unnecessary war. As a scientist, I also know how President Trump's anti-science agenda has placed the entire world in danger. Climate change is a very real threat, which is why I'm co-sponsoring the 100% Clean Economy Act, and why I have introduced, along with Sean Casten, the Better Energy Storage Technology Act. This provides federal sponsorship for grid-scale energy storage demonstration projects that will pave the way to a much higher utilization of renewable resources in our energy grid. I'm very proud that this bill was marked up and passed out of the House Science Committee with the unanimous votes of both Democrats and Republicans. You know, that is important progress, since continued government investment into clean energy technology is essential for us to solve the worldwide problem of climate change. Now, it's been a struggle, but we have also been successful at increasing research budgets for scientific and education agencies every single year, despite President Trump's best efforts to impose cuts on the EPA, the National Science Foundation, the Department of Energy, and the Department of Education. And I believe that healthcare is a basic human right, and that's why I voted to continue to support a public option. It is our duty to provide all Americans with a basic level of healthcare, and that means, first and foremost, to protect the ACA and to strengthen its coverage. Finally, you know that the Democratic majority in the House has passed hundreds of landmark legislative acts that all await action in Mitch McConnell's legislative graveyard in the Senate. Still, I'm very proud to have voted for a $15 minimum wage, for the DREAM Act, the Equality Act, campaign finance reform, and lowering prescription drug prices. So, I'm asking you for your vote on March 17th to continue the work that I'm doing as part of this historic Democratic majority and to support a new president and a Democratic Senate in 2020. Thank you all.
Hello everybody, I'm Congressman Raja Krishnamoorthi, and today we're going to announce our Stop Bullying Act. This is a very important act to me because basically what it does is it helps to combat bullying that young people face all the time, especially people in the LGBTQ community. Some statistics that are quite disturbing to me as a parent of 3 children is that 90% of LGBTQ folks have reported being bullied, and quite frankly, people in many minority communities have been bullied as well. And they should know that they're not alone. There are a lot of people, unfortunately, that face this very disturbing behavior. But the purpose of this act today that we're introducing is to create state-level task forces, modeled on Illinois, that would be set up throughout the nation in different states to basically address the problem of bullying, involving educators, parents, students, and other stakeholders to craft ways to deal with it in an effective fashion. And so at the federal level, we would create grant-making opportunities to incentivize states and get this off the ground. 13 states are doing it already. We want others to follow suit. So that's the purpose of today's event. I was bullied growing up. My children, unfortunately, have been bullied as well. And now with the advent of social media, it is pervasive. We have to put a stop to it. And that is the purpose of our initiative today. I hope that you'll join me in trying to combat bullying of all people, but especially LGBTQ folks who face a lot of hurdles in this regard. Because we are one community and we have to treat everyone the same. Equality is the watchword of my office. Whatever you need, please let me know. Thank you so much.
He was very interested in that act, so that's the one thing that he really wanted to talk about. Next, we have Denika McMillen, who's a candidate for state representative in District 41. We're a little behind schedule, but we're making up.
All right, so 5 minutes?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Oh!
5 minutes? Yes.
Hi, my name is Denika McMillen. I am running for state representative in District 41. I'm a licensed clinical social worker. I've been doing that for over 20 years. This is actually my second time in the meeting. The first time I came was doing a presentation on LGBTQ families. Why am I running is a question that people generally ask me. I'm a social worker, never planned on being a politician, but have always fought for people who are impoverished or didn't have resources. My background is in mental health, so I provide therapy for people. Right now I have a private practice, but for 18 years before that, I was working in nonprofits, organizations working with homeless population, mental health community, as well as women and children in shelters, people with HIV and AIDS. And so I have always seen it as my duty to help others. And I think the thing that really pushed me into running is the election of 2018. Myself, my family, my kids were always involved in politics or watching. We watched the debates in 2016. My kids were very disappointed the next morning, as were a lot of adults with the election. And watching what happened last year as far as could be gerrymandering, not sure, but the candidate that was in there in 2018 dropped out 6 weeks before the election. But while that did happen, she only lost by 4 points. And I think that that was a message that Naperville was sending, that it was time for a change. What kind of a change? There's a lot of talk about Naperville being very rich. Well, the majority of the community is, the district is Naperville. I know that we have other places like Bolingbrook as well as Winfield. But in Naperville, one of the biggest things they talk about are taxes and how that affects the residents, and they want taxes to go down, but that's not something that I feel like it can be done, fixed at Naperville's level. It has to be done downstate, and it's been a problem for a really long time. Other things that are not being talked about that I feel really need to be addressed are mental health issues and access to mental health services. There are no places where people can go for mental health counseling except for DuPage County, because it's really hard to see people if you're not paneled with Medicaid. And that is the population that I worked with when I worked in CHA, people who were not able to go to counseling, but we did it in-house. Another thing that we don't talk about here is minimum wage, affordable housing here in Naperville. All those things actually do matter to the residents. There's a food pantry that services a lot of residents that we just don't really talk about. I feel like I can bring more of a humanistic view to the House. I've always advocated for, fought for, and just supported people who did not have a voice. So this is my time to go out and make history. We do know that we're going to have, and I'm going to say this, a woman in office after November in District 41. Could be me, could be Janet, but we definitely want to change, and I feel like this is a year for us to do that. So I'm asking for your vote on March 17th. Thank you. Thank you, Denika. And then we have Janet Gabriel, who's running in District 41 as well.
Hi, good evening. Thank you all for your time today. Let me just tell you maybe a little bit about myself and what I'm running for and why I'm running. So I'm a working mom. I have 3 young kids, and my background is in business and finance investing. I work at Morningstar during my day job when I'm not knocking on doors. And so my background is in building businesses. And so I've really, in the past 3 years that I've been on the Naperville 203 School Board, really tried to take that lens, that business experience, and use it to kind of further our goal, our overall Naperville 203 mission to help every student succeed. So, that business lens in particular, one of the things when I talk to residents, when I go knocking on doors, almost every single one of them talks about property taxes. And so on the school board, some of the things that we've done that have been historically unprecedented is to abate property taxes and to abate bond levy payments by millions of dollars in each of the year that I've been on the school board. And I think we all know that Illinois is not in the greatest financial shape. We have major pension issues. We have budgets that don't always balance. And what I'm going to do is take my business experience and bring it to Springfield and help turn that ship around. At the same time, though, I am a lifelong Democrat. And so a lot of the things that we've been doing on the school board, I really hope reflect the values and the ethos of this group. Some of the things we've done were to invest in early childhood education, because, I think we know, and definitely like within the schools, we know when you get them early, when you get them young, you can make a real difference in their lives. We've invested in summer school. We've invested in interventions to help all of our students really succeed. And I'm going to take those values, that exact lens, and bring it straight to Springfield. And so that means making sure that our healthcare rights are protected. It means making sure that women's reproductive rights are protected. Right now, the good thing is that Illinois is an oasis within the Midwest for women's reproductive rights. Let's make sure that we keep it that way. One thing that I want to really focus on when I'm in Springfield is kind of the equity of income and equity of opportunities. So when I think we've seen a lot of the news talking about how the economy has done actually really well in the past 10 years or so, right? But the thing is, when you really look at the numbers and when you see like how that's been distributed, it's shocking, because you have really the top 10% of Illinois residents experiencing 110% of that wage growth, whereas the 90% of the bottom 90% has actually seen real wage decreases. And that's a travesty. And that means, since the 1960s, our middle class has actually shrunk by 20%. And the vast majority of that is people dropping out of the middle class. We need to turn that around with, there are lots of things that we can do. One of the first things we can do is make sure that we have taxes that don't squeeze the middle class, but that really make billionaires, millionaires pay their fair share. So those are some of the things that drive me and that I'll do in Springfield. And Denika's totally right. So in 2018, those results were really, really, I think, encouraging, and they show that we have a really good chance. But at the same time, we gotta work hard to make sure it happens. So, whatever happens in March, I hope that, we can get all together and all behind this to turn the 41st blue. Thanks.
Thank you very much, ladies. And I'm sure we look forward to seeing one of you as the next state representative. Next, we have Ken Mejia-Beal, who's a candidate for the 42nd State Representative District.
Thank you. My name is Ken Mejia-Beal, and I'm running for Illinois State Rep in District 42. So a little bit about my background. I've been a property tax analyst for the last 13 years. So when we talk about property taxes, that's something that I've done my entire career. What I've also done is healthcare. I'm on the council for Howard Brown Health, where we are one of Illinois' only pay-what-you-can healthcare providers, where we provide health for mental, dental, and overall health issues. And we provide this service to everyone and anyone. When we talk about the environment, I am the NAACP's National Co-Chair for the Climate Justice Department. That's because I've done a lot of work and research on how we can intersect climate justice with our everyday lives and make it a little bit better and easier for everyone to contribute a little bit more to make our planet sustainable. Excuse me. I'm also a citizen of DuPage County. And that is why I'm running. Because all of these issues are issues that I have common sense knowledge on, and I plan on taking to Springfield to make it a little bit better. In my off time, I go to Springfield. I've lobbied for bills. I've worked with our state reps on legislation and bills that I think need to get passed to make our society a little bit better. One of the highlights of my life was working with Representative Robinson on a bill that provides HIV and AIDS medication to folks that cannot afford it. By 2030, 1 in 2 gay African American men will be diagnosed with HIV and/or AIDS in this country. That's 1 in 5. So providing proper health care in this state means the most to me, and that's the main reason that I'm running. What do I bring to Springfield that's maybe lacking? If you want to know how a state's moral compass goes, look at their budget. A state's budget shows exactly what they care about, who they are, and where their integrity lies. Our state budget in 2018 shows that Illinois is moving to a place that actually cares about education, healthcare, and the environment, and bringing in jobs, creating green jobs. I want to be a part of that revolution because I have dabbled in every single aspect of that throughout my life. Thank you guys for your time.
Thank you. And he's in an uncontested race, so he's the candidate. And the next one is Jennifer Zordani, who many of us know from the 6th Congressional, and she's running for the 47th.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Zordani. I am your next state representative for the Illinois House District 47. My district is primarily in DuPage and includes the towns of, and listen now, because if you don't live there, but you know people there, let's reach out and let them know my name. Elmhurst, Oakbrook, Hinsdale, Clarendon Hills, which is where I'm from. And we've got a little bit of Westmont, Oakbrook Terrace, Western Springs, which is in Cook County, and then little bits of Willowbrook and Downers Grove. As I talk to the people in my district, we share a lot of the same concerns, things we've talked about here tonight. Absolutely, fiscal concerns in Illinois are a high priority. And I am a strong advocate for making sure that when we see extra revenues, we start addressing that unfunded pension debt. Now the reality is though, our pension debt is about the same level as Texas. But you don't hear Texans griping the way you hear it in Illinois. You don't hear it from the Tribune with their constant barrage of negative articles about Illinois and people leaving Illinois. There's a lot we can do, and my priority one is promoting Illinois as the great place to live and work that it is. We are going to restore Illinois. We're on the right path, and we can just keep continuing to make the state better, and we'll get it done. The current representative stands in front of the cameras and tells people that she does certain things, when down in Springfield she does different things. I live at the south end of my House district, and we had the Sterigenics issue, and a group of concerned citizens stood and fought against the emission of the ethylene oxide in our community. And the current representative stood with them, but when a bill came up to prevent ethylene oxide from polluting communities across Illinois, a stronger bill that would help communities, she didn't vote for it. The reason, Bill, and we talk about healthcare in our state and what we can do at the state level to make things great, we just passed a bill to cap the price of insulin for certain patients. It was a bipartisan bill and she did not vote in favor of it. And that's astounding for so many reasons, right? Insulin has been off patent for decades, but patients are still subject to price gouging. And this bill was intended to help people who are choosing between paying the grocery bill and getting their medicine. I've heard a story about a family where one of the insulin-dependent persons is a VA hospital user, so his medicine is covered. Two other people in the household don't have their medicine covered through the VA, so they share their insulin. This bill was intended to address that, and she did not vote in favor of it when it was a bipartisan bill that passed for all the right reasons. Last night I was at a meeting in Hinsdale that's talking about the rollout of 5G cell towers in our community. There's a lot of concerns about that rollout, and we're a test community. Citizens there, like the Sterigenics movement, they're raising concerns. And the current representative stood in front of that group of over 100 people as if she shared their concerns. The first company that applied for a 5G permit was Verizon. Her campaign contributors, Verizon, AT&T. She stands in front of people and tells them one thing and then she'll do something different. And that's not the representative I'm going to be. We expect our government officials to work to better the lives of ourselves and our families. So when people talk about what we can do in Illinois, I remind them how great we are. What do we have here? We have great dirt and great water, right? Phenomenal farmland, Lake Michigan. We're a transportation hub. And why are we a transportation hub? Because the US is still the #1 economy in the world, and Illinois is the 5th largest economy in the US. We have great people, people who value hard work, education, equity, the values that make great communities. So I'm here running for the people who love Illinois, who know that we will make it the place for our kids and grandkids to thrive for generations to come. VoteZordani.com is my website. Please share my name with your friends in my district. Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. And really, one of the things to remember is Illinois has become a model state with regards to our representation at the state level. So it's very exciting that we could, it really looks like we have a potential in our 13 districts in DuPage County. It looks like we have 9 currently Democrats as state representatives. It looks like we have 3 potential new Democratic state representatives. So that's very exciting. Before people go, really quick, Candace Adams is a candidate for clerk of the circuit court. And we have Bonnie Garris, who is right here, whose husband is Jeff Garris, who's a candidate for Forest Preserve number 5. And then we have Jeanette DeFelice, who's a candidate for Forest Preserve, for County Board number 4. And next month, we're going to be having a forum with the contested races. And so throughout this next few months, you're going to see many of the candidates have videos come out with many of the county candidates. So I'm sure Jeff and Jeanette will be having theirs come out soon. One of the last things that I just want to mention is that all of these candidates need help. And one of the best things that any of us can do to learn or to help any of the causes that we believe in is to volunteer and see, what each of them, I'm sure that you have a race that you care about or a particular person strikes you as somebody that you'd really like to help more. So I really encourage everyone to volunteer with the candidate themselves, to work with a township organization that helps all the candidates. It makes us more valuable. The last thing that I wanted to say is that we have another candidate, a forum discussing Medicare for All and the Fair Tax Amendment. That's on the 30th. Many of our presidential candidates have a policy position, whether it's Medicare for All or some healthcare position. And so it's something that's very confusing. There's a whole lot of money spent to confuse you on purpose. And so we just want to help educate you. We have wonderful, there's 2 more people that were supposed to come, and one of them just walked in. And many of our state representatives are having their videos done. But Dagmara Avalar is running for state representative in District 85. Yes.
Yes, great.
Good evening, everybody. How's everybody doing? Good? Great. Okay, well, thank you, Diane, for the introduction. Again, my name is Dagmara Avalar, and I'm running to be the next state representative for the 85th district. How many of you know where that's at? Okay, well, so just so you know, the 85th district is primarily Will County, but we do have an area that covers DuPage County, which is the Woodridge area. But it's mostly Bolingbrook, Romeoville, and half of the city of Lockport. Just a little bit about me. I moved to Bolingbrook back in 2001. I arrived to the United States in October 22nd, 1999. And I would always remember that day for those of us who are immigrants and refugees as well. We always remember the day that we come into a new country as a second day of birth. And so October 22nd is my second birthday, I would say. So I went to public schools. I graduated from Bolingbrook High School, and I'm currently doing my master's in urban planning and policy. Why do I tell you all of this? I didn't really see myself in public office. As somebody who was undocumented for 13 years of my life here in the United States, I never thought that I could actually be in the position that I'm in, being able to run for office. I naturalized back in 2016. And as a community organizer at heart, one of the things that I was taught was the power of people, right? Not just that, and just our collective power to make sure that our communities are better. So, like I said, as soon as I was able to naturalize, I did, and I did the same thing that I've been doing in every single election year, which is I always try to take new voters with me. So when I voted for the first time, I took 5 new people with me as well, and I want to continue to do that. I've done a lot of work at the state level, currently work at the Illinois Coalition for Immigrant and Refugee Rights. We do a lot of state advocacy, and I hope that the knowledge that I have, not just from my lived experience, but the lived experience of a lot of community members in my district, is going to make me a good representative for the state of Illinois. So if you have any questions, let me know. I will be having a website coming soon. For now, you can like my Facebook page. We are a very grassroots movement and in campaign. All of us who are working on the campaign, including myself, we currently still have our jobs. So let me tell you, it has been challenging to do this, but we couldn't be more inspired than, if there's a time to act, there's never been a perfect time than now. So I am glad to be here, and if you have any questions, let me know. Thank you.
No, thank you. And Jeff Jacobson also is a candidate for judge who just walked in, and he's in an uncontested race in the Anderson vacancy. So thank you very much, and please pick up any literature on your way out. We also actually have now that this is our new permanent digs, we are going to have, 2 things. Actually, we have all of this costs money. So Walt here is our treasurer, and he passes around a hat to help finance what we're doing here and everything. But we also have some wonderful treats and wine in the back, so please feel free to mingle, have a glass of wine, and pick up some literature. Thank you.